Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another fantastic Purpose of Life podcast. I'm blessed and honoured. You might have seen the posts a couple of weeks ago. Blessed and honoured to have our guest, Brother Mohammad, at our podcast.
Cheers, Sad.
First guest. Alhamdulillah, first guest. So this is quite new to us as well. But the journey, I mean, I haven't even, listened to all the story from Brother Mohammad, but the journey has been amazing. And I think this needs to be shared with yourselves, just to appreciate how profound the journey has been. And also, it's just, for me, it's miracles upon miracles, and it needs to be shared, not only for our volunteers or donators, and so they'll be amazed at where the donations are going. It's more important than that. For me, it's many people out there who are soul searching, and that's what the name comes from. The charity was always set not just to help the needy and the poor with finances. That to me is just, I know a lot of charities work or operate that way, and that's the purpose. But the purpose of life, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more depth to it, and it is about getting people focusing on what their purpose is. It's one of the most important questions in life. What is your purpose? And then the most important actions you can take in life is actually working on that purpose. And your story, Brother Mohammad, I think you couldn't have written this in any better way. And when we set the food bank up and we did the monthly dinners, you would have seen this because we've kept the same format. We set this back up in 2018, so it's been 7 years. It says on here it's a soul food project. And when we invited people for dinner, that the food was just to feed the bodies, but really our aim is to feed the souls. Community cohesion initiative, that's all embodied. And we talked about this when we were just having dinner. Up there we're all but one family. And for me, it's if anybody's listening out there who's non-Muslim and they've been yearning this journey, but maybe they've not had the support, or they've not met anyone they've been guided. And if you're watching this, please reach out to myself or Brother Mohammad. And even if one person is guided or finds some sort of guidance through this podcast, to me, this is the aim of it. I'm not here, there's a lot of private stuff that's going to be shared today. And for myself, I even mentioned it to Brother Mohammad when we even put a picture up, and I was going to hide your face out of respect for your privacy. Yeah. So it's not here to divulge your inner thoughts or I don't know, expose yourself or tell me your personal stuff. There's a reason behind that. I genuinely feel like Brother Mohammad, just like myself, there's a mission, but I feel it already that Brother Mohammad, there'll be some special things happening. So without further ado, I just wanted to introduce Brother Mohammad, and it's gonna be a bit like of a storytelling podcast. Before we even start the story of what's been happening in the recent weeks, just tell me initially a little bit about yourself, and then we can just take it from there.
Yeah. So I'm a middle-aged guy who grew up in Germany, in a family which was an MOD family. My father was a British Army officer, so I had a pretty privileged, not financially privileged. I had a pretty decent childhood. You know what I mean? I've lived all over the world. I've lived in Nepal and Singapore and Germany, and I was born in Germany, and I didn't relocate to England until high school. And then I left school in 89. I had an apprenticeship as engineer. My life was always pretty disciplined. My dad, even though he was a British Army officer, he wasn't like a strict father. He was either in the Falklands or somewhere else. And I moved to Manchester because my family were all from Manchester. My heritage is sort of gypsy heritage. Yeah, if you go down my lineage, the O'Carrolls, they sort of hail from, I think it's Limerick, like Southwest Ireland or something like that. But my biological grandparents on both sides are from a place in Manchester called Ancoats, which was poverty. So my dad joined the army, sort of like took us, just took us all over the world instead. had a decent career. Left school, became an apprentice. Then I had another pretty lengthy career, which was very professional. I won't go into detail because it's boring.
No.
But ultimately, after so long, like something happened. I became really unwell. And leading up to that, I didn't really drink that much. I sort of like an English Christian guy who's allowed to drink. So I left school and I was into sort of the social scene, the Manchester rave scene and that. But it was nothing, it was, I always worked hard. I always had healthy friends and I was always active and all the rest of it. And then when I got to about 40 years old, something happened. On reflection, Sad, you see, everything that I say is on reflection. So at the time, I was quite ignorant to what was going on. But something happened in there, and in there in particular, on reflection, and I became really unwell. And I tried managing it myself and carrying on in this professional career. It was a really high-level career as well, and it just got worse and worse and worse. When I started that career in around 1999, 2000. I ended up marrying a woman who is still now regrettably my ex-wife, but still best friend. I had 4 beautiful daughters, step-adopted daughters, if you like. We lived in Home Firth. Me and my wife worked in the same organisation, so we say. Had everything, we wanted to go on holiday. We'd go on holiday. You know what I mean? I wanted a Land Rover. I got a Land Rover. I wanted a motorcycle. I got a motorcycle. But I was never greedy. It was just I was in that cycle. And then because your perpetual existence is to maintain the comforts that we've got, and almost like compete with thy neighbour, shall we say? You just keep the wheel on, you keep spinning those plates, you keep the wheel on, you hope that your mind's going to get better. It's not. You try and get support, mental health support. No disrespect to services in this country. I don't mean, I get everyone's under pressure, but the mental health support's pretty lacking. That's not about the individuals, it's just as a system, it's poor, So I had a catastrophic meltdown. I really did. And I went I say very quickly, but over about 2 years, over a time period of about 2 years, I went from sort of highest level, professional, decorated, certificates, medals, all the rest of it. I went from that to absolute carnage and addiction, and typically the most hardcore addiction as well, heroin. It's a very long story leading up to that, but ultimately I was unwell and something went wrong and ended up on heroin, pretty much on every drug. And I was hiding it from my family. My then wife was sort of, with a heavy heart I say this, brother, they actually thought I had cancer because I looked so ill from drugs. And they never said that to me. But, this one of the most upsetting things on reflection was like finding out that subsequently when we had conversations. And then I ended up in a situation where I was on the streets. But before I got to the streets, I always thought my rock bottom, because I'm in recovery, shall we say. So I'm not an active addict, but the ethic is that I'll always be in recovery and all the rest of it. But the substances are part of what's wrong up here. So the circumstances leading up to me being on the street were, I'll be very specific, and I will never forget this moment because it's imprinted on my mind for eternity. And I lived in Home Firth, nice house, 250,000, 300,000 pound house, and it was a semi-detached 4-bedroom. It was extended, but it was extended the same size as it was a big house. It was beautiful.
That was back then, so now it's probably double that now.
It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Today's a lot of work. And we had these neighbours, and I was doing a bit of plastering for them, and I was doing, like, it was in the conservatory, like a dwarf wall, and I stole from that family. I stole the children's stuff. I stole my own wife's wedding ring off her finger while she was asleep. This is I just want to be clear about the absolute depths that addiction brought me to. And that day, I stole in the conservatory, and I broke down, and I was sort of like, "What am I doing?" Because I'm not a bad person. Like the drugs just changed my value system, and I remember it was the middle of January. It was cold. It was probably -3 forecast that night, and I just walked away. I didn't take anything with me. I took what I'd stolen that was valuable to buy drugs with.
Yeah. And how much were you spending per month then? What were we talking about back then now?
Back then, it wasn't as chaotic when I walked back then. But when it became more chaotic, the more I tried using my own willpower to do it. And that evening, I walked to Manchester to my mother's house. Where it took me 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and I walked over the moors, and I thought, if I get killed, I get killed. It's all right. I just had a t-shirt on.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
It was freezing.
Yeah, well,
but I didn't care because I was just thinking like drugs, and I didn't want to live anyway. So it got really bad, and I've missed a lot of detail out there, but all of that led me ultimately being convicted of lots of stuff, and I ended up in prison, and I've got shipped to different prisons all over the place, and my family, they supported me, what I mean, like they didn't desert me, and then ultimately I just became more of a stranger, and I came out of prison. I got myself a new job, everything was positive, I was clean, sober, all the rest of it. Boom, straight back into it.
Okay.
And then it just got worse, and then I thought my rock bottom was walking all the way back to Manchester to my mother's.
Yeah,
that wasn't. It had a cellar. When I got to my mother's, she was terminally ill, and she was like, so I became her carer for about 7-8 months.
Okay,
that went wrong. Again, I was so unwell. Listen, I'm not excusing my behaviours. I was behaving like an addict, and my value systems was terrible. I had a falling out with my family and my brother, and we had a big, really awful, violent fight. And then I stole my own mother's car.
Right. Yeah.
My dying mother's car.
Yeah.
And I say that lightly, I say it lightly because I'm at peace with that now. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we'll talk about why in a moment. I stole the car, and I came over to Huddersfield because this is where all my criminality was. In the West Yorkshire area, and this is where I was buying the drugs, and I knew dealers and all the rest of it. And I thought I'd be okay, keep hold of this car, and then I'll get myself a place and everything. Lasted 2 weeks, and I sold the car, and I spent it all on drugs.
Yeah,
over a couple of weeks. Then I ended up in a mental hospital, and then from a mental hospital, I ended up then getting housed in Batley. Right. So I was a guy from Manchester who met his wife and married into a family, and sort of like was gifted these 4 beautiful children. And then I found myself in Batley from having come from the priestly unit. And then it just carried on and on, Saj. It was.
I've got one important question, and you don't have to answer this. And I was going to ask it before whilst you were telling me, and I thought, shall I ask, shall I not? But you feel free not to answer this. And I'm only asking this purely for the sake of, because when you first got into it, you said you couldn't see it. And if there's any other people watching out there who are in a similar situation, it's more for them.
Yeah.
What got you into it, or what was it that initially got you into that spiral effect of just going downhill, just so that if anybody else is watching that, they can avoid getting in that situation in the first place?
What got me into it was the inability to be able to ask for help and in the right place.
Okay.
I was in a job. I didn't want to lose my job. I was trying to put my own self-will.
But was it pressure? Was it just life pressure? Was it?
It was stresses. I think this is sad. Is always going to be like a conversation for like the whole recovery community, shall we say, to do with addiction and that sort of thing. Is what comes first? Is it the catastrophe that's going on in here that drives you to the drug? Or is it the drug that causes that? And so like the drink and drug it's almost like a medication. You're self-medicating because you don't want to face yourself. It's like the hardest thing is to accept that there's something not right in here. And I think for anybody watching and listening is if you're feeling at a point when the things that you're doing socially are having an effect on your life, And what I mean by that, and listen, there's nothing worse for a human being is that to sort of like look themselves in the mirror and say, listen, like this X, Y, and Z that you're doing is hurting you and your family and all the rest of it. We don't like to, we're full of ego.
Self-reflect, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, there's consequences and accountability, isn't
That's
it?
it. It's like accountability is. It's something I've always, you know, I wasn't a bad person. Like I never committed a crime in my life. Leading up to that, I didn't even used to smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean? I was disciplined, but then something goes wrong, and then I didn't know how to fix it. And as a bloke, possibly because I'm a man full of ego, and you know, I wasn't, you know, I was very much a practical thinker back then. I didn't have any spirituality or anything. You know, if you'd have said the word soul to me back then, I'd have probably thought you meant the bottom of my Adidas Sambas. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what? It's a good question, and it's a question that I always ask myself, brother, because there's a 360 degrees worth of things that can really, you know, addiction does not discriminate. You know, I know people who were alcoholics who don't realise they're alcoholics because it's socially acceptable to drink alcohol. But if you ask a person to take that alcohol out of their life and they won't want to do it, then you got to start questioning it. So if anyone's listening, watching, who's thinking, if you're out there and you're socialising and you're drinking and taking drugs, whatever that may be, if you're asking yourself the question, is this right? Then it's probably not.
Yeah.
But at the time, I wasn't asking those questions.
Okay.
You know?
So I think to summarise that is if you're in a situation, a bit of self-reflect, and then go out and ask for help. Find people out there. Find people to talk to. Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are just like that. You feel isolated when you feel like that. You feel like you're the only. I'll say it as a speaker, you're the only junkie in the world. You know, and I say that because you do get stereotyped and all the rest of it. Yeah. So you don't. It's the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment, barriers. There are people out there who are aware that there are services to help them, but because of different cultural things, they don't want to go there, which is a problem for services, and they need to sort those services out to be a little bit better, quite frankly. If you're struggling, my advice would be just do some research and find somewhere that's going to be able to help you. Because there are places that will help you, and sometimes, you know, you just got to open your eyes to see the help, which is crazy that I'm sat here having this conversation, because that's how this panned out for me, isn't it? You know, when I stumbled across this charity.
No. But yeah, I mean, so we're in Batley. You've got to Batley, and I am going to discuss what you're doing now, because I think that needs to be. It's part of the answer as well.
Of course.
You know, I think it's beautiful because it's not just one organisation. There are two organisations here that can help. But you're in Batley. I'm going to let you carry on with the story, and then from there, let's what happened after that.
So I get to. So this is so. Before I tell you this story, a little trigger warning. I'm going to talk about suicidal ideation. I feel that's important. Okay. By the time I got to Batley, I'd fallen into a pretty toxic relationship with a female, and there was and her weapon of choice, shall we say? We called the substance the weapon of choice, because that's what you're killing yourself with. Was crack cocaine, which is fiercely addictive, and mine was heroin. I wasn't being treated or anything like that, and I got this place in Batley, 1-bedroom flat, because I was a vulnerable adult. You know, because I had this diagnosis, and you know, I'd been in a mental health ward, and then it just carried on. Okay. I was just spending all what money I had on drugs. I wasn't eating. It was unfurnished. My flat, I didn't have any heat or anything like that. You know, if you think of your stereotypical, how general society thinks of your stereotypical addicts, I was living that way.
It's like a cold, empty shell, no furniture, no heating. It's just everything. Yeah, it's all about getting my next fix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, I didn't. If I had £10 and it was the middle of January and it was freezing cold, I would know up here that logically I should get some gas because it was a prepay meter then. But I also know here that but I'm going to rattle off heroin. So what am I going to do? Am I going to sit freezing and rattling off heroin? And this is how the mind works. It's bizarre. And then, or am I going to get some heroin? And then at least then I'll be warm, you know? And that's like, it's the same as when you're on the street, you know, and I know, I know people who, I've heard people, even like my own family, which is terrible really, back in the day, like refer to people on the street and homeless people as, oh, they've got a choice. And you're making choices with a really messed up mind. Like, so do you have a choice? Probably not. And so I remember being on the street. I remember eating out of dustbins rather than let's sit there outside McDonald's. This is so I went from this like high level career and family and 4 beautiful children, all the rest of it, to begging outside McDonald's in Huddersfield Town Centre. And if someone chucked that, they come out drunk on a Saturday night and they chucked the Big Mac meal like on the floor and they had one bite out, I'm picking it up because I'm not spending the money that I'm earning begging on food, right? When I can buy gear with it. I know it's like I'm saying it and I'm smiling, but it's like it's ridiculous, man, isn't it? And so it got so bad when I was in Batley that I became so used to the chaos and everything that I started losing control of my home, even though it was just a shell. It was still a roof over my head, you know. And I lost control of the home to people who were my friends. And listen, I'm not going to badmouth any of these people who I was like running with, shall we say. Some of them are dead now, regrettably.
They're going through their own struggles, aren't they?
You know what I mean? And then I then became, I just literally gave up as in wanting to live. Now, I've had this conversation a few times and it's not, so like the concept of when people hear people say, oh, I just wanted to die and all that, it's like doom and gloom. And it wasn't like that. I'd almost made a cognitive decision that, okay, and I'd worked out how much I was worth. I was dead because I had a pension frozen from that career that I'd lost it in and all the rest of it. And my kids will be all right. And I was practically thinking of that. And sort of wanting to die became a sport. And I'm glad I can say it with a light. I hope I'm not offending anyone when I'm laughing about this because it is very serious. But you know, I'm thinking about a version of me that was ridiculous, frankly. And one of the standout times was I'd lost control of my flat. I'd had enough. I put what little things I did have in a bag on my back, and I went to Batley train station. I'll never forget it. It was spring. It was around this time of year, ironically. It was getting lighter and all the rest of it. And I went to Batley train station. Now I knew the train station, and I know there was a train that comes through and it doesn't stop. It maybe the Leeds to Manchester train. I'm not sure whichever one it is. Straight through, probably doing 70 mile an hour, right? So I'm thinking, right. I just got my bag and I was walking around just the general area and I just thought, yeah, I've had it off. That's it. I'm done. So I went to the train station and I got there, and this is where the timeline. There's moments that are like you couldn't make this up. So this was one of the first moments. Was I was on the train station platform. There was no one there. Bonus. So in my head, there's a reason there's no one there. Brilliant. I'm going to walk to the train station and I'm going to get on the plan when the train comes. I'm just going to go under it. And you know, I'm not, you know, I'm a nice person, so I'm not. And so I was even then thinking, yeah, but I'm going to traumatize the passengers. Like, you know what I mean? So that's how really confused I was. And then I walked down to the platform and like down the ramp bit. I vividly remember this thinking, well, there's no camera there because I was mindful there was a CCTV camera. And I went down. When I got to the bottom of the platform that goes right onto the track sidings bit, I saw this tiny little what was left of a sticker that said that had chart written on it. I didn't know what chart was. What's that? And then I saw it said, it was ripped, right, and really weathered, and it said rug and alcohol service. So I found that quite witty. I was like, so I'm there to kill myself, right? So, and then I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, and I'd been there about 2 hours because incidentally, like typically unlucky me, the train had been cancelled that was coming through to kill me, right?
Well, that's the start of your miracles.
Yeah, do you know? And then I'm like, oh man. So then I was just, it was literally like this. And there was a telegraph post and then the fencing, and I saw this really messed up stick and it had faded and it just said rug and alcohol services, and I was like, rug and alcohol. That'll mean drugs, won't it? And I went, oh yeah, what's this? So I asked around. So I went, right, okay, I'll ask around. I asked a few people, what's this place that it's called Chart? Oh, it's all. They told me it was in Dewsbury. I didn't really know this area, even though I'd been there a couple of years by that point. Like, I'll have a walk up to this Dewsbury place. Like, must be something there. And that's when I first walked into Chart, which is now called CGL. And I walked into Chart, and I remember there was someone called Roz. She was on the reception. See, this is how profound it is, because I can remember. Like,
still vivid, isn't it?
Yeah. And I got in there, and I sort of said, "Is this that Chart place?" And she went, "Yeah. What's up?" And I broke down. I said, "Just like, please," and I swore, "Please effing help me." You know what I mean? And then from that, I ended up getting treatment, but even then, it wasn't easy. It wasn't like boom, that's the magic of it. But leading up to that point, I'd tried getting clean on my own before, a few times. I think in a 10-year period, because it's like a 10-year period that I'm just summarising here. I had 17 relapses in 10 years.
Wow.
Like when I was still with the family and things like that, and I would get clean. I'd be clean for a while, a couple of months maybe. Then I'd go on a family holiday or something, and then I would relapse when we come back. It was just bizarre, Saj.
Just a battle, and it was an ongoing battle within yourself.
There was moments when, so there was the train station thing. There was another moment as well where, so I'm thinking at the time, right, well, that was just right. Okay, that's lucky, isn't it? Okay, I went into service. Fast forward to, I did all right. Obviously, I'm sat here 5 years clean as of last week.
Fantastic.
But there was that moment. Then there was another moment when, when I was saying about with my mother and I'd stole a car. When this is like, wow. So when my money had run out, and then like I needed drugs, so I'll sell my mum's car that I've just twacked anyway. And because it's my mum, she loves me, she didn't report me to the police. I even went to the police station and said, I think I might be wanted, thinking I'll see if my mum's reported me to the police. This is the levels I went to. And they were like, no, you're not wanted. I'm like, happy days, I'm going to sell the car then. And I sold a £3,000 car for £800. Listen, I was a heroin addict. £800 a lot of money.
Yeah.
In my addict head, that's going to last me ages. And then that ran out. Then I ended up back on the street again, and I walked up. Salandine Nook, and then there's the roundabout, and then the M62, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's like a blue railing, and I'm smiling now because this is another. See, right, when I tell this timeline, brother, it's like I didn't know at the time that this was like this weird pattern. I just thought it was yet another attempt on my life. So I'd managed to get 10 bags of heroin, and this was back in the day when heroin was pretty strong. It was like 40% purity. 40% purity. So anyone out there who doesn't know about drugs, so the other 60% is just garbage. Okay. Right? So that's how bad drugs are. So I took these 10, and I thought to myself, and I looked up, and I wasn't particularly spiritual, but I was born into a Catholic family, which I think I missed that at the beginning. So like back in Manchester, back in the day, Mancunian families were generally Irish, Catholic Mancunians. You know what I mean? I've got like about 50 aunties.
Okay.
Yes, Catholics, right? And so I was the only spirituality I knew about. I went to a Catholic school, so I knew about the Bible and stuff. So I knew God was a thing. But so I looked up, and I was at this railing. I took these 10 bags of heroin. I thought, that's going to knock me out. Sure, that's going to knock me out. Because at that time, my habit was settled a little bit. And I thought, that's it, I'm done. Stood on the railing. Again, it was winter. It's always cold when I tried taking my own life. You know what I mean? And I thought, I'm going to take these 10 bags of heroin. I'm going to wait for them to kick in. And then I'm going to stand on that railing, which was about that thin. And if I fall forwards onto the motorway, then God's decided I should die. And then if I fall backwards, then I'm not supposed to die today. So I did that, and I stood up, and a couple of things occurred to me. First off, it was about 3 a.m. I don't know how anyone saw, but somehow a police van managed to randomly just be passing at 3 a.m. Wow. Now, we all know what Kirklees is like. No disrespect to the police. There are never any about. So I'm stood on this railing, and then I get dragged backwards. Okay. I'm like, wow. I'm supposed to die if I go backwards, and then the police are there, and then I end up in mental ward again. And so at that point, we've got, I'd a couple of years before I'd walked all the way. It took me 7 hours to walk to Manchester from where I lived in the Home Valley, across the moors, hypothermic, no high vis or anything. There's no lights. There was cars flying back and forth and stuff. I don't know. I didn't get killed, and then it just became a sport. And then I ended up sort of trying to get my life back together on another occasion. I had this Renault Kangoo van, and I was doing some plastering and stuff, which because in prison I'd done a course and I'd done some plastering, and then when I come out of prison I'd done some plastering and this, that, and the other. My brother-in-law, before he passed away from alcohol, he had his own building firm, so I did stuff like. So I had all these tools and all this kit, and I'll never forget this Renault Kangoo van because it was an ex-British gas van.
Right.
So it was like, so it was that colour blue.
Yeah.
And you could see that it had transfers like through. But it was great. It was a great van. It looked rough, but it was solid. It was, you know what I mean. And that's relevant for when I tell you what happened with that. It was solid, right? It had an MOT. It was legit. And once again, I'd relapsed, and then because I was smart, you see, I thought I'm going to start scoring elsewhere, so I'm going to start going to Halifax because I knew another dealer up there. And then I'd started scoring off this dealer in Halifax. So when I had that van when I was at my mum's in Manchester.
Right.
So I was coming. My mum was poorly. She was out of it a lot of the time. But I'm a youngest boy, right? So she probably turned a blind eye and enabled me to use drugs. No disrespect to her, God forbid. And because she passed, she's dead now. So I was driving from my mother's house to Halifax to score and back. And the route I was going happened to take me through Netherton.
Right.
And once again, something about middle of the night with me, about 2 a.m. And now I hadn't actually been taken. I mean, I was on drugs, but at that point, I was taking like a specific, because when you sort of like get stable and you're not on a prescription, and you're trying to do it of your own free will, you'll do like a taper method, like. Stupid. It don't work anyway. For people out there, don't do it. Just get help, because like, you're not going to do it on your own. You're just not. And so at that point, I was on like 1 bag of heroin a day, £10 a day, right? And I was functioning, all the rest of it. So I wasn't high or anything like that. And I was driving back, and I found myself going up through Netherton, and I remember the co-op was on. There's a co-op there on the right, isn't there? And then there's like an estate where it's got a load of old people and bungalows, and then you come through, and then you get on that windy road to Meltham, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was freezing again. Something about me in that weather, and it was pretty icy. And I knew it was icy, man. I knew, because I just drove from Halifax, of course, and I had some stuff on me, and I had quite a bit. I had drugs on me. I can't remember. You know. I had enough drugs on me that would have rendered me concerned in the supply had I been caught with it. Okay. Right? And I had other stuff in my van, which I'm ashamed to say now, but listen, I'm going to be authentic. And I had firearms and and things like that. And I was doing some work for a dealer, and it was getting, at that point, I was like, I was running 2 lives. Yeah. You know, I'm looking after my mum here, but I'm like this organised crime thing here, you know? Yeah. And then, again, and this happened a lot, right? I would be driving around, and I'd just get this like, excuse the French, what the fuck are you doing, man? Sorry for swearing, but that's from the heart, this, man. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Get a grip of yourself. And I would just get moments like this, and then that would follow with trauma and adversity. If I get upset when I'm saying this, it's because it's like, it'll all become clear. Yeah. No, it's cool. It's like, and I remember driving my van, and I thought, I've had enough, man. I knew I had all these drugs, and I'd even lost interest in the drugs, because normally you'd be like, as an addict, you'd be like, oh, great, that'll sort me out for a couple of days, that, and all the rest of it. And
you're past that point now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just don't care. Yeah.
And then I saw this skip parts up. So I've got the co-op on my right, and I've got this skip on the left, and it's pretty dark up there. And then it was slippy, and it's a straight road. So I'm coming up the hill, and I just found myself just like on the accelerator. And it was a diesel van. It was a crappy old diesel van, right? So I probably got up to 70 mile an hour. This is what I was telling you in Jordan. And I got up to like 70 mile an hour. And this skip wasn't a skip. It was a Nissan Micra. Okay. So this is how pickled my head was. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, there's no one in it. F it. That's it. So my wheels were getting a bit slippy, because it was front wheel drive van. It was really icy. It was black ice. it's a Renault Kangoo, you know, it's just not a rally car, it's not a 4x4. And it was just, and I thought, right, it's, no matter where I go, so it was like an ice rink. And I just took my hands off the steering wheel, and I thought, well, there's no way, like, and I was thinking, there's no way, like the bridge situation and the other situation, that this ain't going to work. There's a vehicle there, inanimate object, I'm going fast enough, I'll take my belt off. And then I went to take my belt off as I was approaching the van. Again, this is all on reflection. At the time, it was just, and can't get the belt off. So I'm like, right. And then, so this is all in like 2 seconds, and it's getting closer and closer and closer and closer. Boom. I'll never forget that moment ever, because of more than anything, the sound. The sound of that crumple into this poor family's car, like, which wrote that off, and it pretty much snapped the car in half. I was doing like 70 miles an hour in this diesel, and it hit it. And here's how the chain of events went. And I always feel it necessary when I tell this part to say, I promise you, this is, I'm probably watering it down than flowering this situation up more than anything. But I promise you it's factual. And the sequence of events was this, right? So I was doing 70 miles an hour. I hit a parked vehicle, inanimate object. So I'm going from 70 to nothing. Yeah. So inevitably, my van went like that. The back end went up. The front stayed there, and it snapped my van in half. Wow. In the series of events, I went flying forward. I can even hear the noise of that and everything. I can hear the noise of all the glass, and it was almost like slow motion. And for some reason, before my head hit the windscreen had popped out. Evidently, there must have been something wrong with the sealant, because the year before I'd had a new windscreen put in with auto glass. Okay. So I'm like, as my head's going toward the windscreen must have popped out. But I've got my seatbelt on. I couldn't get it. You know what I mean? So, like an ejector seat. And then it turns out there must have been some welding needed doing on the anchor pins. You could not make this up, bro. On my seat. So my seat, if you can imagine, comes right out of the floor of the van. At the same time, I'm still strapped in. So I'm like an ejector seat. And then the window pops out. And then I go through. And then the van goes like that, so it snaps, it tips out like that, and spills me out onto the pavement, onto the tarmac. On
your seat,
on my seat, still strapped into my seat, man. And the worst thing is, I wear glass. I got contacts in, and like I remember, like oh sorry, I'm digressed. But the only thing I was bothered about is where's my glasses, because I need to be able to see. I'm like, so then I don't know what happened. So I must have been unconscious for a bit. Now I'm not saying I wasn't injured. Like I didn't impacts the windscreen, but it had obviously shattered on its way out, and then I had all the glass cuts. I think I mentioned this. So there was quite a lot of quite a lot of blood. So I must have looked a mess. I thought I'd broken my leg, and I was a good 30 feet away from that.
Wow. Okay.
The van just like snapped in half, went like that, and then just stayed wedged in the back of this poor guy's Micra, which had then hit another car in front. So I like wrote 5 cars off. Right. Okay. Which I'm not proud of, obviously.
No, but okay.
I kind of came round, and I'm like, oh, and I could hear woo, and all the blues coming, the sirens coming, and all the rest of it. And then I'm trying, and I get out, and I look. I swear to God, I looked at this van, and there was nothing left of it. There was nothing left of it. There was no room for a person in that van. I was like, wow, it was a mess. There was tools behind. Now them Kangoos don't have like a wall bit there; it's all open. Yeah. And I had a steel saw and everything. There were tools in there that should have hit me in the back of the head and took my head off. And then I heard the woo-woos. So then I'm scrambling around looking for the drugs and the firearms. I'm like, oh my God, I need... And then I'm like, I broke my leg. I couldn't walk on my leg. So I'm literally dragging myself across the floor. Then the ambulance comes, and then the police come. And the police didn't want to waste any time at all. They were like in the back of the police van. Ambulance and them had a little falling out, because the ambulance paramedics like, we need to go to hospital. You know what I mean? And anyway, so I mean, when I say the police van, I mean one of them, like like the people carriers and things that we have. So I'm sat there, and there was about 3 bobbies in there, and I was massively concussed. I'd been unconscious apparently. When I came round for being unconscious, I'd apparently signed a refuse treatment thing with the paramedic, which wasn't my signature, but I don't.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm okay. So I'm like, I'm in this van, and then I'm like, oh man, do you know the old camera film tubs?
Yes.
So I've got one of them. It's full of crack, cocaine.
Okay.
And then do you know the Kinder Egg
Yeah.
I've got one of them. It's full of heroin,
Okay.
bagged up in separate shots.
Okay. Yeah.
Dealer amount. It's arguably dealer amount, and I'd forgot that was in my pocket.
Right.
So I'm like, where's this, that, and the other? I can't find anything. Oh, it's in my pocket, but I'm in the van. I mean, I'm surrounded by police at this point. I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And still, my own self-will and ego. It's okay. They won't see it. I'll just grab it and try and run out of the van and get rid of it. But I couldn't run because I thought I'd broken my leg.
Yeah.
So inevitably, I ended up in custody, and then they took me from custody to hospital. And then in hospital, I hadn't broke. I had all the X-rays and that, and it was just like really severely bruised. I'm thinking, how the hell have I not broken anything? No stitches, nothing. Then I went to custody. I got charged with another load of offences and things like that. And I lost my license. So then I'm homeless, no license, no money. And then I got arrested for fail to appear at court because I didn't get a letter because I was homeless.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then it was just a cycle.
Just yeah. Okay.
And then ended up in a mental hospital again.
Right.
Yeah, it was just do it, and then I ended up back at my mother's. A few months later, another relapse. Mother had a different car. I know. So my stepdad had a stroke, and so I used his car. I had a crash in that one as well.
Okay.
Not the same sort of circumstances, but very similar. So like, there's about 4 occasions here where I actually should be dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there was just all sorts of moments. Like I would take loads of drugs. Like there was a time I took about 20 bags of heroin to try and kill myself. And it was the one time, because I was quite savvy. You know, I know what drugs are. And for the one weird time that I decided I'm going to take 20 bags of heroin, it was snide heroin.
Right.
So some dealer had ripped me off. So like, you couldn't write that. I'm like, oh God's sake, come on. So it became a sport trying to kill myself. Yeah. And I say that not like doom and gloom. Cognitive, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Like, you know, my kids are growing up now. I'm all right. You know what I mean? I've done my bit. I'm all right. I'm done. But I wasn't done. It was just, I'm probably missing some detail there. So then, I don't know what year that was, but then at some point I ended up back in my flat in Batley, same situation, and I was hanging around. I got with the same people. It was all drugs and crime and everything, and really on my backside. And then I don't know, somehow I saw one of these. Right. It was some, and I say it because it's the colour. It sticks out.
The same branding colours.
Yeah. And I can't. I know you asked me before, brother. I can't remember. Like, it'll come to me factually, but I saw it somewhere. I don't know where. It might have been at Chart or something. That's
Chart. We give it to Chart. Yeah.
So it might.
You saw it. That's the most important thing. You saw it.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it, and then I grabbed it and I put it in my pocket. Oh, I haven't got my bag. I've got the original. I've got one of the original things from 2022, I think.
Wow. Okay.
From ages ago.
Yeah.
I know this was before 2023, but I wanted to bring it and show you. So I had it in my bag. Like, I'd got it and I'd done that.
Hold it. Yeah.
And then me and the girl that I was with at the time, it was really toxic, that relationship, and equal toxicity. We were both very unwell, and like we just didn't have anything. Now we were getting benefits, but it was all going on drugs. And I know the general public would sort of say, well, why should we help these people if they've got the choice to buy food with that? You do have the choice when it's a socially recreational drug. You don't have the choice if it's alcohol and you're dependent on it, and if you don't drink it, you're going to die because you'll have a seizure. And if you're on heroin without a prescription, you're not necessarily going to die, but you're going to feel dead. And then you're going to start robbing people and all the rest of it, you know what I mean? And that's not excuse, but so you have no money generally. Yeah. And I didn't. I would get my benefits, and for a couple of days I'd have a bit of money, and then it would just be gone. I saw this thing, and then I think it was her. She saw it, and then we were like, "Oh, we're going up here. We get some food." I'm like, "What do you mean get some food?" She went, "You know, like that church." Excuse me. So the church in Batley, I can't remember which one. The big church, just down from Cebu. Yeah. And every Monday they used to do like a drop-in centre. Okay. You know. Yeah. And we used to go to there. It might have been there.
Yes, I did drop some leaflets there as well.
It might have been there.
Yeah.
It was either there or.
It's a lovely group of elderly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember it now.
That's
I remember.
right.
Yeah.
I think it was there.
Yeah.
See,
Fantastic.
Epiphany.
It's
coming
come.
back, man. And I remember, and I said, "Where's that?" Oh, it's just up the road, up there at the PKWA. And I'm like, "Where the hell's the PK? What are we talking about?"
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget the Dark Lane. Obviously, I know what Dark Lane is now, but that stuck in me. I went, Dark Lane? What? There's actually a place called Dark Lane.
Don't want to go there, do we? Go on, yeah.
I'm like, what is this Yorkshire like? This bloody county. It's got some weird names and stuff going on. And so we went up, and what year would that have been? I'm sure that I went to, I'm fast forwarding, I went to detox through CGL in 2019, 2020. 2019, 20. So it must have been the year before that. It's got to have been the year before 2019.
We started in 2018.
Did you?
And I believe that you, now I'm rejigging my memory, I believe you came to one of our first events.
It was the Eid one.
It was the Eid party.
Yeah.
On the first year.
Was it?
I remember it now, yeah.
Yeah, wow. And I remember stood there, I'll never forget where I stood and everything, and you had the banners up.
Yes.
And it's got the, I'm going to be really, it's got the thing about Mohammad, the prophet, about he's not a Muslim neighbour,
it's one of my favourite hadiths. So we've got banners out there, and this is what really motivated me to do the homeless dinners is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he is not Muslim who eats his fill when his neighbour is hungry.
That's it.
And not his Muslim neighbour, his neighbour. And to me, it's like, and I'm gonna mention something because you've mentioned it twice, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but even when we first initially launched this project, we had other charities actually email us and ring me, saying, because a lot of charities want to help abroad, and that was part. We do that. We work on a lot of projects, but it was like, oh look, you're wasting your time. No one needs help here. There's people here that have put themselves in that situation, and for me, it was like, some of these guys work for the charities. I'm not going to mention the names, and I just thought, where's your hikmah? Where's your, where's the intelligence? You should know better.
Yeah.
And you've just made a judgment. And where's your empathy? Where's your wisdom?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, it's not just about poverty. There's so many people. I mean, I've got even friends, family members that you think on the outside everything's well and they're successful, but inside in this little box, there's a lot of things. There's anxiety, depression, and it's not about wealth. It's not about money. You can have a lot of problems. To me, it's like, if you've not spiritually, that's why I call it a soul food project. You can have all the money in the world, but if your soul's not got, if you're not feeding your soul with the right food, if you want to call it that, then your soul's starving, which is more important than even your own body.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that because, and it's like you said, no matter what situation, who puts themselves in that situation by choice. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to hurt my family. I'm going to hurt my mother, my father, my wives. No one does that.
No.
And it's like, this is why I asked you the question, because it's that spiral effect that somewhat triggers, and we all have different triggers. And so the point I'm trying to make is don't judge. And especially as a Muslim, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, he never judged. And it's like, when you see a situation like that, God's opened the door for you to help somebody. And what, you're going to close that door and you're going to judge? And what are you going to answer to God? That help your fellow human being. And we mentioned it before, up there, we're all but one family. We've come from the same grandfather. Have some empathy. And I think this is what the world needs right now. There's so much, I'm going off on a tangent, but, just, if you ever see it, don't judge, because it can happen to yourselves, and be in a position to help that person.
Yeah. So I found the leaflet, and it's like you said about so I want to pick up on that, Saj, because you mentioned about, it's not just about the food, and I've told this story, and I'm going to come to the thing at the round table event in a minute, right? And I've told this story at work many times, and at my previous work, because I work for CGL now, and I worked in 2023 for Emerging Futures.
Okay.
Doing I'm a facilitator, right?
Right.
And I tell people this in recovery. I tell clients this, honestly, it's like, what I remember about that is like there's reasons things stick out in your mind, in my humble opinion, and reasons things stick out. It's like I do a thing at work and actually do a timeline, and I look at the peaks and everything, and then you can look at them all and go, that led to that and that led to that. And then I went there. I was so chaotic. I was in a relationship that was abusive. Me as the victim, unfortunately, I'd lost a tooth. I was on my knees, man.
Okay.
I was like, I didn't feel like a man. Didn't feel like a human. I was diagnosed with moderate to severe depression, moderate to severe anxiety. I was that PTSD, emotional unstable personality disorder, psychosis. I was on antipsychotic medication, and we'd come across this, and we were like we're gonna get some food, and it was Eid. It was Eid, wasn't it? Yeah, of course it was. Because it was packed that night. I remember. So I was like, I would never have gone to. That's like, I don't do that shit. I don't do that shit. I don't go to events. I'm not going to stand there with like 100 people. Are you mad? And I went there, and then obviously I bumped into you and all the rest of it. And but it wasn't about the food. Now I'm going to say something that I vehemently stick by for the rest of my natural life on this training course that we're on down here. Is like, it's all right losing everything and losing your family and losing your job and your income and your career and all the rest of it, but it's when you lose your soul. It's like, and whatever anyone's interpretation of soul is, right? So whether anyone is religious, not religious, or whatever, I don't even like the word religious. It's like a label. Do you know what I mean? We're all the same.
100%.
But whatever anyone's perception is, it's like when you lose your soul, whether you're religious or not, you know. So when I was going on about all this suicidal ideation and the attempts, and I made a sport out of that thought process, I still had soul, because I still had something driving me to actually think of things. By the time I was getting to that stage, man, I couldn't care less. I didn't care, man. And then, so in summary, and I know I've dragged this out, but I say to people, it was like, what I learned from that very first time was that, like, someone gave a shit. Excuse the language, I'm being authentic, man. Yep. And back then I was like, someone gave a shit about me, you know what I mean? About me, about this, let's have it right, you know. Someone cared about this smackhead, right? Because that's all they could see outside of that building, right? They didn't know about my history. They don't know I've got medals I can't wear and certificates I can't hang. They don't know that. They just see this smackhead. They have no idea. And then what purpose of life did is it made me feel like a human being again. And then I kept going back, and I went back and I became a regular. Then I ended up and this is another one of those magical moments, and then I ended up, fast forward to getting into treatment, and I was at CGL, and then I went on a prescription, and then I carried on coming to Purpose of Life the once a month, and then, you know, you become a bit of a regular and all the rest of it. So I was like, I was doing a lot better. I was off heroin on a prescription, but I was still messing around with cocaine. And crack. Okay. Yeah. And I struggled with that. But I ended up going to a detox that CGL, that they now call CGL, the chart, then sent me to. And I went to a detox in 2020, on the 16th of March, 2020. And I came out of that detox on the 1st of April 2020, because it was COVID times and lockdown. Right. So when I came out, it was a lockdown. So I'd come out completely clean, completely sober. When I was in detox, something changed. I can't really put. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to say it was a spiritual thing then or whatever. But I'd already sort of like bumped into you guys, and I did the in between. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I started working for Emerging Futures, and then and then they said, can you just do this little presentation about this I work in a criminal justice team, about this Foundations of Rehabilitation course that you do. So, and it was about rehabilitation of like offending. Right. Okay. Fast forward to now, we've changed it to rehabilitation of the soul, basically.
Oh, fantastic. Mindset. Yeah. Nice.
And I went to this round table event, and I won't name my so basically the person who was the boss of CGL round here, she she's like, she said, "Oh, can you do this presentation?" Yeah, no problem. And I thought it'd be like 10 people or something, you know what I mean? And I could set this Ponderosa thing, and I'm like, Ponderosa, is that in Florida? It's like, that's a ranch, in it. So I got to this Ponderosa thing. I'm like, wow, there's loads of people, loads of police there. Whoa. And I went in, and I'm sat there, and there was MPs there, the mayor and police were there, and I did this presentation, and then but obviously I've been clean and sober for a bit. Then I was working full time and that, and I was nervous, man. I stand in classes and I deliver interventions, but not to 100 people in suits and that. And I was nervous as hell, man. And I was doing this presentation, and then I'm like, that's that Saj dude, innit? Like, obviously I know you now, brother.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I'm doing this, I don't know if you remember.
I remember.
And I'm talking, and I'm like, and I'm telling the story about like what we can offer and all that. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do some like, because I go against the grain, me, with recovery. I'm passionate about recovery like that. People are dying out there, mate. And I'm talking, and I'm like, and just to let you all know, because I thought I'm going to smash stigmas, because I'm all over that. Just to let you all know, because I haven't had everyone's gaze, I said, I am a heroin addict. I'm just happen to be clean now. And there was like gasps and all that. And then I think if you remember, I said, I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to use this platform now, because I just want to thank Purpose of Life there. Saj, isn't it? Like, and I remember you were like, look at me, and I was looking, I was like, that's Saj. You know what I mean? Like, I'd been going to the PKWA. Yeah. Once I'd started working, I wasn't at EF. I wasn't going up there as a service user. Yeah. Then I'd seen you there, and then a year after that, then.
You know, I'm gonna stop you there, because just another miracle. So Yahya looks after the food back then, and he was looking after it then, and it was like I kind of left him to it. Right. And that was one event I think the MP had organised at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I was like, I've got a deal I need to complete, because we all working full time then, and I was like, look, this is a big one. I'll jump in, but I don't normally do that. I was like, I've got so busy with other stuff. So I said, I'll show my face. You notice I sat in the back. I thought, I sat in the back. I just said hello to a few friends, and I thought I'm gonna take the notes, do a bit of networking, and then bugger off. And so it was like it was meant to be. That was it was just another miracle that I was supposed to be there. And you spotted me. I didn't spot you, to be fair. And I
caught you when I'd walked in. I walked in,
you did. Like... And then you mentioned it, and then we had a hug. I remember that. And for me, it was like
it was just.
It's profound. It was profound.
It is, and you kept popping up. So like, some guy from Manchester, like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Sat in Batley talking about this from Manchester.
Yeah.
I was born abroad. I was born and raised in Germany up until high school age, and I'm sat in Batley, and this Purpose of Life thing keeps popping up, man. And you know what I mean, that in a nice way. No, right? And then so I'm at this event. And then I'm thinking, that was a bit mad, wasn't it? And then I told like my boss and Fiona and that, like, do you know that? Like, and I told like, do you know that story, Fiona, about when that's the guys there. No way, yeah. So then another 10 months after that, I left Emerging Futures doing that role and went to CGL. So they're partner agencies. Yeah, I went to CGL, and then I got talking to someone, I won't name, but someone who's connected to the charity, or who has been doing the Tuesday, once a month, comes and helps out. Yeah. And the guy, Jamie, my colleague, who normally used to come up once a month on the Tuesday to the events, he had other commitments, and so he couldn't do it. And then I was asked randomly to fill in once. I'd just got to CGL. Can you just fill in? I'm like, yeah, what am I doing? Where? And they went up and they said Man Away. And I'm like, where's Man Away? Have you got the postcode? What is it? And I'm like, so I went up, and as I was the first night walking up after work, I finished work at like 5:30 or something. And I walk up, I'm like, I'm on Dark Lane.
I've been here before.
Yeah. I got up, and I'm looking, and I've like typical, and I've got my sat nav on my thing, on my walkie thing. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't need that. I know exactly where I'm going, man. Yeah. And I walked in, I'm like, no way. It's like, what? No way! Like, I'm here again.
Just can't get rid of us, can you?
and that was like what, just over a year ago. When so it's like you at the Ponderosa. When I was literally on my backside. If I right, so I'm going to say something really factual, and I don't say this lightly. I seriously don't, brother. I shouldn't be alive now. I've said this privately to you before, haven't I? Especially recently, and I shouldn't be alive now. There was a sequence of events. I tried prompting the quickening of my departure, shall we say. I tried that, and I'd failed, and it got to such. There's more that I forgot as well that I'm happy to do to carry this on as well. And it got to a point. I think I had about 7 or 8 attempts on my own life, and not one of them worked. It's like, and I'm like, am I even crap at trying to commit suicide? Yeah. And then
someone up there's protecting you.
And then I bump into, and then I go to that one, and I'll never forget the first night I went to that 7 years ago, and it still sticks in my head now, because I'd gone from feeling like that's it, I'm dead inside. You know, this is just a carcass. I couldn't care less. And I walked out of that event feeling at least human again. And when you can ignite the human spirit, and it's all like, and you know, even though I was still very down and out for a while, I had a bit of fight. You know what I mean? I had some fight.
Yeah.
I was like, no, hang on a minute. No, it's like I don't want to die. You know what I mean? I want to do things.
Yeah.
And that motivated me. And then I got clean and sober, and I work at CGL and all the rest of it. And then I do the Tuesday night thing. And you meant it's not about the feeding. And I keep saying that. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself.
No, it's
not about like food. It's about community. Like that. This was. Can I be blunt?
Please.
This was a Muslim charity, as far as everyone's concerned. Yeah. They're not going to want some white smackhead going in there. You know what I mean? Like this is ignorance.
Yeah.
You know, no. It's like, it's scary. That I'm like, I don't. What do I do in a Muslim charity? Like, and it was like, well, no. And I got there. It's like, it didn't feel like a charity for a start. We're in this massive premises, and there was people doing henna. I think there was a barber.
I had a barber there, yeah.
There was a barber there, man.
A barber for
Not
the guys, barber for the ladies.
And, there was a barber there, wasn't there? And there's henna.
Yeah.
I think I had my henna done, and the girl I was with at the time, I had it done and everything. And it wasn't about that. It was about community.
Yeah.
It was about human beings treating you like human beings.
This is what it was, and that's what it was all about. And it's like you say, we're all one family.
Yeah.
And you know, the event. And it's still going on, by the way. And that was, we started it in Ramadan 2018. We had the Eid party, and we do it once a month. And you know, the food that we purchase is wedding quality food.
Yeah,
it's not cheap food.
No.
We never have used cheap. And it was like you said, what would you feed your own family with, or your guests with? And you are our guests. And you know, another stigma that is worth mentioning is which you mentioned is. You know, the whole main reason of me starting Purpose of Life wasn't just to help causes abroad, and there's, for us, like you say, whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, you could be brown, green, orange, white. Up there, what God and the Prophet Mohammad, peace be upon him, teaches us is we're one family, and even again, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but even some of the people that want to tarnish the reputation of the Prophet, peace be upon him, whether it's through cartoons or whatever it is, whether you like it or not, he's the best man that's ever lived, or will be the best man that's ever lived. And every good that I do is because of him. You know, these dinners, it's because, you know, you heard the hadiths, you've heard the sayings. It's because of him. Any bad that I do is my own mistakes, and there's many bad that I've done. But any good that you've seen me do is been motivated by him, which has been motivated by Allah. So, you know, let's just have a bit of respect for everybody, you know, have a bit of empathy. We may have differences of opinions or different thought processes, but let's have a bit of love and cohesion, isn't it? I just wanted to mention
we all bleed red, don't we?
We all bleed, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. That's exactly what it's about. You know, and I'm going to be really bold and just throw this out there, and I don't want to be controversial about my own community.
No.
I mean, you know, there's some churches that do help, you know, absolutely, but just generally in terms of society, and I'm not being political, but I was on my knees, and listen, I'm not entitled. Like I could have asked for more help sooner, and all the rest of it, and all that nonsense. But I was unwell. But I was on my knees, and there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go, man. It's like, I never saw a leaflet for anywhere else. You know what I mean? I've seen two brands. The reason I'm alive now is because of two brands, and I'm not promoting the chart brand just because they pay me wage and all the rest of it. And I'm not even going to get into that because I don't even have permission to talk about that from CGL. But I'm not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to sell that. What I'm saying is there were two brands in my life that are the reason I'm breathing now, and one of them's that, and the other one's chart. And I listen. I'm not on commission for saying I'm selling recovery now.
Yeah.
And inclusion and the fact that like I got treated with more respect from Muslims who 20 years previously were almost seen as like hatred. Seriously, like, you know, from back where I'm from, not about I was involved, but you know, I was around the Oldham area at a time. The stereotyping was just phenomenal. It was disgusting, in fact, on reflection. And but there I am on my knees, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. I didn't even, you know, I think I was about 7 stone at one point. I always struggled to keep weight on anyway. That's just I've got one of metabolisms, but I got down to 7 stone.
I remember you seeing it. You were.
Yeah, I was dying, mate.
Yeah,
I was dying, man. I was dying, and I don't say it lightly. And like people might watch the news and things, and they hear addicts in recovery say, "I was dying." I was like, "No, we were dying."
Yeah.
Like, I've lost 4 people that I know personally since November to drink and drugs. So we were dying, and we need to stop this. I'm going to get on my soapbox now about recovery, this like separate, like that. People out there are dying on drugs and drink, in particular drink on the streets, right? And not just on living, like they've got homes, they're from families, and they're having secret lives drinking or secret lives taking drugs, right? Like that shit does not discriminate. And what I can say right now categorically is there are young Muslim lads out there, and I know from my career that I'm in now, that are dying slow deaths, just the same as I was. And there's a barrier. There's a barrier. And I'm not saying it's a deliberate barrier. I'm just there's stigmas and there's pressures and
denial and
and as a service could be doing more. As a society, oh God, we could be doing more. That's like it's insulting to say. Could be we absolutely should be doing more.
But all even I think from our communities we can be doing more. Yeah. And I think something to reflect on. That's what we're trying to do really. Is build that bridge. Yeah.
There's the other thing as well, which it's significant because obviously now I still volunteer and everything and do Tuesday nights with CGL and whatnot up at PKWA, and there are people in that, and I can't obviously disclose it, but there are people, several, who attend that event, who have seen me at that event, having seen me drug addict at that event 7 years prior, have seen me as a drug and alcohol worker at that event, and as a result of them being at that event, have gone into service with drug and alcohol services. So, and that's a fact.
No, you're an inspiration.
It's because they had purpose of life to go to at that event where they got fed and seen the love and the inclusion. It motivated at least 3 people to get help. 3 people could be dead now. Yeah, seriously, and one of them probably would be. That's the power of kindness. You know what I mean? That's the power of kindness, man.
Yeah, no, thanks, and you know, I mean, you'll know the dinners more than I, because I'm now Yahya, yourself. You guys are so involved. You come every month. Thank you very much to all of you. And you know, I'm so busy with the overseas. We don't have any staff. And Yahya mentioned it. You know, just pop in every 6 months or a year. And I'm like, I make the intentions in coming. And I must have not come for a year and a half at least. And for some reason, I was in the office and Yahya messaged, bless him, because just pop in for 10 minutes. And I'm like, I'll get this work done. And it's done. And for some reason, it must have been 5-6 months ago. I'm like, I had loads to do. I had loads to do, but I'm going to pop in.
October,
time. And it was somewhat in like, I've got to go. So I just locked up and I thought, I'll go to the dinner, you know, catch up with the guys, and then stay in the office till about 2 o'clock and crack on. And that's when I caught with yourself. And we had a little chat, and I'm going to let you carry on. And
then I'm like once again, Saj pops up. Bruv, like there's always like a decent amount of time in between in there, and God, do you know? I don't think I've ever told you this. Like, so we had a conversation, and like, so I was getting quite comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, and listen, I've been treated like part of the Pole family, even with my CGL lanyard on. You know what I mean? So I'm comfortable, and I'm getting. And then Sadge is there, and then I think towards the end there was just me, you, and a couple of other volunteers, and we're talking. And then you mentioned about Jordan.
Yeah.
And wow, sorry. And you mentioned about Jordan. And you're like, and I saw you thinking about it, and you're like that, and you went, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do something that I've never done before. And you invited me to Jordan.
I did, yeah.
And I remember saying straight away, yeah. Like, and what I never told you is, in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, it'll never happen. Like, it's not going to come off. I'm just like, but I'm just being polite, right? I'm just going to say, yeah. I'm just going to, and I don't mean in a devious way. I'm like,
no.
And then that was October, and then I thought nothing of it. And I think it got to like end of November or something, and then sort of like mentioned it again and said, "Oh, have you got your passport number or something?"
Yeah, so I nudge. Yeah. The guys that know me, they know when I say something. I don't say there's action behind it. So for me, I'm gonna add a little bit to that conversation. So we'd obviously had a little catch up. Must have been a minute, 2 minute conversation. It was a very short and sweet conversation, and we talked about what the works and. I told you I was like, sorry, I couldn't come often and busy with the overseas project. And you told me that I actually follow you guys on the social media and you knew about the certain projects. And And then we got talking about the situation that I'm not allowed to talk about the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the local area. So we got talking about that. And then you said something that stuck in my head, and it was like, we talked about God. And then when I mentioned the Prophet Mohammad, peace be upon him, and then you mentioned him and you referred to him as Prophet Mohammed, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, was like, he's just referred to my prophet as also a prophet. And it was like, so you believe in... So I asked you the question, I was as open as... And he was like, yeah, man, this is your actual words. Yeah, man, Jesus is a prophet. Prophet Muhammad is a prophet. And there's only one Allah, there's no partners. So in my head now, I'm thinking, this guy is a Muslim without even knowing he's a Muslim. And I was like, well, one of the soulful projects abroad was the Darul Uloom project. It's just like an educational center in English terms. And and we've never connected two projects because every project's different worlds, different place. And for the first time through yourself, I was talking to Yasser about this, that it's so beautiful that not only have you got a beautiful story in the UK, but you've just connecting all the dots of all the projects, and that's what made it so special. And I thought the whole aim for the education center in Jordan, ran by the family of the Cave of the Seven Sleepers, a story in the Quran and the Bible. What an honor. And wow. and Sham, old Sham, which is Jordan, Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon, it is the spiritual home of the world, if I can put it in a sentence.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. And I just felt like I've tasted something so special there. And it's the reason why, despite being so busy, I invite people to go there, volunteers and friends and anyone, because I want them to taste what I've tasted. And that's what, again, is part of the Purpose of Life project. And when you said Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you actually said peace be upon him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to take him to Jordan. He's going to have to come to Jordan with me because his journey hasn't ended. He's on... Somewhat's been drawing him by chance over these 7-8 years randomly, and it's not by chance.
No.
And I knew that, and I said, I'm not there to force anything. Wasn't there, and I thought I'm just going to take him then, and God's going to guide him in His own way. And a few months later, I was like, you need to catch up with Rob at the time.
Yeah.
And there were 3 dates.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
And anything, something even more of a miracle, which I think I might have shared with you, but we actually booked one of the dates in Ramadan, which is the worst time to go for us.
Yeah, I remember saying.
Because that's the time when we get most of our donations. And I'd messed up there. Yahya checks the dates. He must have missed it.
Last week of Ramadan.
Last week of Ramadan, that's the way you get your most donations. Yeah. And it was a case of, I'm going to cancel this trip because I can't miss the donations. But when you pick those dates, I'll be honest, when you pick that particular date, you said, I can't be available for the other 2.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I didn't cancel it. I was like, I said to Yaz, I said, look, I'm going to look forward to this trip because I mean, CGL, I've got a lot. Maybe I've got to put a plug in. I've got a lot of love for CGL. Everyone involved that's been involved
Yeah.
are working now and in the past. Your colleagues, some of them, I've got a lot of love for them. And you guys have always supported POL. And it's been so beautiful because it's like one organisation.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, absolutely is.
And then you've probably done more events than I have. I'll be honest with you, much more. And it's like you're part of the POL family, so it's like there's families amongst families here. So
Yeah.
And it was like I was looking forward to going with you. And I actually told the Sheikh, I said, look, Sheikh, I've got something a little bit. I've got a different guest for you this time. And he was like, yeah, beautiful, and the Darul Uloom it's a new project. It's still, it's just pretty much we're still doing the works on it, as you've seen.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this will be a great litmus test of. We wanted to create this beautiful educational centre sanctuary for it's not just for Muslims. This project's unique because it's for 8 billion people can benefit. People who are weak in faith, people
Mm.
rehabilitation, non-Muslims. Again, soul food project, but also community cohesion project.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes the Darul Uloom project in Jordan so unique because it bridges. And I want to extend this invitation to anyone listening. Anyone that's who's going on a spiritual journey and think there's something missing, because usually when you hear we've had 5 shahadas with the charities, it's a beautiful honor that God's given us, but even the stories that people have had other shahadas with, they usually say that Islam is usually the last religion with all what they've heard. It's the last. Now we'll look at that last. And so if you're going through your journey, let me save you and fast forward you a long 360 journey. Make Islam your first choice, and what better way to go is to the land of where it all really came from. It's obviously Saudi and Sham. It's where the birthplace is, not just for Islam but monotheistic religions. And so more than welcome to join myself or brother Mohammad, who will be. I'm sure this is one of your many trips. But book the ticket. We're on the plane. What you feeling? What's going on?
Do you know that ticket? Right. So with the ticket thing, I'm going to confess. I thought it won't happen. It's just and when it got to November and Yahya asked for my passport details, and I'm like, and I didn't tell him at the time. I just went chilled out. Yeah, man, there's my passport details, and then I'm like, what's that going to happen, man? And then it's and then I get this WhatsApp picture of you guys with the ticket with my name, and I'm like, whoa, I'm going to Jordan. I'm going to the Middle East, man. And I'm like, I'm going to the Middle East, man. I'm going to the Middle East. Stereotyping, oh no, it's look on the map. Oh, it's right near Palestine. Oh, there's a war, and there's no, it's not a war, but And I'm like, wow. And then I started telling a few of my pals, and they're like, what? With that charity that... And I'm like, yeah. No way. Yeah. I'm like, I know. And then I thought, oh no, I haven't got any leave left at work.
Okay.
And I've already said, yeah. So I'm like, for some reason, I'm going. I don't know. Something is in my heart was saying, you go. So I'm like, so I spoke to my manager and said, listen, I've been offered this opportunity, and I'm like, I'm going to ask your permission out of professional respect, because I have a lot of respect for my manager. She's absolutely fantastic. And I said, but and she went, you going, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And she went, yeah, with my blessing you are as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
Unpaid leave type thing. And I'm like, I don't care. You pay me, don't pay me. I'll borrow some leave from next year, whatever, because it's April to April. And I was going, and but I was going, and I was nervous as hell. But I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought, do you know what I thought, Saj? I thought I was going to go, and I was going to do my bit, giving back, and dig a few wells.
Okay. Okay.
That's honestly, bro. That's what I thought I was going to do. And I told my pals at work, and I said, yeah, I'm just going doing a bit of charity work. I don't know, dig a few wells, maybe have a look around or something. I don't know, man. But I've been asked, so I'm going. And people who know me personally know my story. They know this story. There's about 6 people in this universe that know this story about, from the heart. I've cried telling this story in longer detail to people. And so I was always going to Jordan, but then like, wow, oh my God, I'm going to Jordan. And it's like, oh God, it's in 4 weeks, or it's in 3 weeks, oh. And and then we went to Jordan, man. Shall I carry on about Jordan?
Please, yeah. What did you feel? What did you experience?
Wow.
Because I think this is quite profound, because for us, it's like you say, it's Jordan's got so many blessings. The Prophet's told us how blessed the land is, and even to convince Muslims to go is can be difficult sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, because they've not tasted it, and they've got fears, and it's like you said, it's just the stigmas.
Everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then I think a lot of people can benefit from your story, because not only will it encourage Muslims, but non-Muslims to go. So yeah, I mean, what was your experience, and what did you feel? And
I felt when I got there, so I'll get the ignorance out of the way. I felt the polar opposite of what I expected. It was peaceful. I was in the Middle East that I personally had only ever seen on the TV and on the news and all the BS. How did I feel? Oh God, I remember when we got to the airport, Jordan Airport, and we were queuing up for the visa.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around, and I was like, and I think I said to you guys, I said, listen, like, if you find me quiet, I'm all right. I just seem to have entered a perpetual state of peace. And like, so as an addict, like, so how did I feel? Right, I'll tell you profoundly. Like, I'll put my serious head on. Like, in active addiction, and active addiction meaning the substance is just a byproduct of what's really wrong in here, right? And in active addiction, all you ever want is peace. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want peace, man. Like, I just need peace, and by peace, I just mean like I just need all this to stop. I need this to work again, and I need these thoughts gone, because it's not it's a dark party in there, right? And you just want peace. And when I got to Jordan, at first I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, because I thought my head's just emptied. I could feel my head emptying, like, and I'm not, like, I don't exaggerate with things, man. I'm very forensic and factual, but I could feel my head. I could feel my head emptying. And bearing in mind, I'm in like I'm well out of my comfort zone at this point, right? I'm in the Middle East. I'm at Jordan Airport. There's stuff going on there, so it's heightened security. The pretty strict guy at the visa thing. You know, I'm stood there and I'm like, but I thought, you know, I feel all right. And I was smoking like 15 cigarettes a day up to then, you remember?
I remember, yeah.
And then it was like, we've got this journey where there's going to be no smoke and that, but it's last week of Ramadan, so I just won't have a cigarette. And whatever I've got on me, I'll take, and that'll do. And normally when I went to Tenerife just a few months before on my own, I got off the flight at Tenerife, and I was like, I need a cigarette, like nicotine addict. And when I got to Jordan, nothing, I'd forgot about all that. And we got there, and then we got to, did we go straight to the Darul Uloom from the airport?
Yeah, because the Sheikh's brother was picked us up from the airport, because the Sheikh, yeah,
that's right.
So the Sheikh was busy because we had a charity deployment going on.
Yeah.
Feeding some of the refugees from Jordan and Syria. So yeah, we went straight to the cave. We went to the cave at the dinner. Yeah.
That's when I think I said to you guys, like, you know, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. And like I went to the cave, and that whole the mosque, everything, and the amount of people. Oh, and we got there, didn't we? And there was all the plates of food were there ready.
It was feeding the refugees at the time. Yeah.
And there was thousands of people.
Yeah.
Wow. And I just remember feeling like so humbled, and
the Sheikh. I mean, it's just so much love for the Sheikh. I've got so much love for him, even though that's such a big honor. And he was about to do your shahada, if you remember this, and then he was like, no, I've got to give that honor to my father.
Yeah.
And that says a lot, because I wanted that gift for the Sheikh, because I've got love for but then his father did the Sheikh.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And what I don't know if you want to talk about what you were feeling, the experiences before and after, because the soul feels something, and I want you to share that.
I mean, I was crying, obviously, you remember?
Like, so we'll talk about from when we had that conversation, you were ready to give your shahada, and then the Sheikh, had he was quite excited, but I was like, "Where's this come from?" Because we had a little chat,
Yeah.
and then he asked his father, and then his father asked you to repeat.
That's
the
right.
Shahada.
I remember you were sat.
I sat on the office. I sat on the Sheikh's desk.
That's
where I
right.
should be sitting.
Yeah. You were
Bless him.
sat. It was like
I was
Dallas.
yeah.
And you were sat there, and I was sat side onto there, and the Sheikh's father was there. I think Ahmed was there, and then the Sheikh himself was there, and they were like, we were just chatting, weren't we?
We had a chat. It was like we needed that. I needed that one-to-one chat with you. And we had it then.
Nothing was planned. Like we never went, did we? I never went and said, I'm going to come there, Saj, because I've been thinking of reverting. Like it just flowed into this conversation, and then we were chatting, weren't we? And then you were asking me about, and then even though I think we would talk about like you believe that Mohammad, peace be upon him, be the last prophet and all that. And do you remember, like, and we were talking about spiritual arrogance at that point, weren't we? And I said that thing about, well, yeah, like, of course, you know what I mean? And then you explained about Shahad, and then you spoke to Sheikh, and then the Sheikh passed it to his father.
Passed the honour to his father. And just to explain for the viewers what the Shahada is, basically, it's a testament of faith. So, in essence, to become a Muslim, you have to declare that there's only one God, Allah. So, Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be on him, is the final messenger of Allah.
Of course.
That's in the simplest term. If you testify to that and you say that, then you have accepted Islam. I wanted to, again, if there's anyone watching that feel that, I just wanted to give you, the ways of becoming a Muslim. And there's other testaments of faith, believing in hell, heaven, you believe in angels, but that'll come. But in essence, that is your starting point. So if anybody is interested, please do get in touch with Purpose of Life, or anyone for that matter, or even Brother Mohammad now. It's again, it's feeding the soul. You feed the soul through. How do you feed the soul? You might ask. It's through the remembrance of Allah, through God. And that is our sole purpose in life. If I've summarized that well enough for you, but again, please do get in touch. But you've now the father's giving the repeating the Shahada, you're repeating it, word for word. But
I remember, because I couldn't understand him as well, so I kept having to ask you, what was that bit? And then reciting it.
So you've got the Arabic version and the English version. Yeah, we did that together.
Yeah.
And once you'd completed the Shahada, then tell me what was going on. What did you feel?
So by the time I'd completed it, it was filled up in there. And I was in bits, man. And then
what did you feel? What did your soul feel?
So first off, calm. What did my soul feel? It felt like I had one again, and it wasn't a swinging brick.
So you felt like
I felt
you got your soul
light.
back.
I felt light.
Okay.
The best way to describe it, without being I don't want to put people off. I'm a practical thinker, but I felt, and I'm not being supernatural, but I felt light. I felt enhanced. In fact, that's what I tell people now. I say to my friends last night. I've said, look, I'm the same person. I'm just enhanced. Sorry, I'm like
no, beautiful.
And
beautiful.
I feel light, and I'm just looking at that. I'm sorry, Saj. It's like purpose of life. How do I feel? And I've not prepped this. I feel like my life's got a purpose. It's just and that's because I was struggling to summarize that. And I promise you, I swear, I have not just practiced that. I've just seen it on the notepad there. I felt light. I felt complete. I think I said at the time, I felt complete. I felt complete. I felt validated. I felt worthy. Spoiled. I did. I felt spoiled. After everything that I've been through and done and had done to me and done to people, and I've never harmed a person, but I've said a lot of horrible. I felt spoiled. You know what I mean? I felt like the kid who would constantly getting in trouble at school and everything, and gone playing with the naughty boys and all the rest of it, and gone off, and then come back home, and then knocked on the door, and his parents, it's in my spirit. I felt like this. If it's a good enough analogy, it's like I've knocked on the door, and it's wet through, and I'm full of mud, and I'm gonna get done. I'm gonna get grounded for life and spanked and all the rest of it. And what happens is the door opens, and then I get a towel put around me, and someone kisses me on the head and tells me, in a child, it's gonna be all right. And that's how I feel. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt like my inner child had sort of forgiven itself. Still do, which is a massive thing for addicts in recovery. Yeah. And I felt privileged. Peace. It all comes back to the word peace. I said to the guy when we were having food earlier, all you ever want is peace. Yeah. That's all you want is peace. And Islam means peace.
Yeah. So it means, it's a beautiful summary. And the lightness that you feel is the beautiful thing when you accept Islam is and there'll be many Muslims who will envy you for this, because all your sins have been forgiven. Yeah. Got a clean slate like a newborn baby, and that's where the lightness feeling comes from. What a beautiful thing. And I'm just so, honestly, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've got so much love for you.
Likewise, brother.
There's like blood, but there's like a spiritual blood, and that you're my family. I call it, when I say brother, I mean that.
Likewise, man.
Apologies, like you say, life's a bit manic with working silly hours, and I don't get to spend time. But I'll ring the lads' house. I'll ring you at your house. How's Brother Mohammad doing? And we're always going to be there for you. But I think, which we'll discuss, is you've had a beautiful couple of weeks back now. We're in the present now.
Yes, we're in the present now.
And you celebrated your first Eid with us, and I'm gonna share that. I want you to share that experience as well. But I just want to mention a couple of things as well. Is which is quite important. Is everyone, and we all go through our journeys. We've all got our tests, and God will. But remember one thing: God has said one thing which helped me in my difficulties. I went through my journey as well. Is remember that God will only test you as much as you can handle. Just remember that. And never doubt God's love, because no matter what you've done or what you're feeling, there's going to be the devil's voice trying to tell you you're this, you're not worthy. That's the devil. Ignore that voice. God loves you 70 times more than your own mother, and we can't even fathom the love of, the mother's love, which is 1 times. He created you. He wants you to succeed, and Allah has told us, this is what our belief is that He says, I swear by me that you could sin and your sins could reach the mountains and the clouds, but you keep coming to me and asking for genuine forgiveness, and I will keep on forgiving you. God is looking for an excuse to forgive us. And if you could take one thing from this is look at what Brother Mohammad went through and his journey. And I can't see, I know, not again trying to diminish anyone's journey, because it doesn't get much worse than that, does it? Where a guy's trying to commit suicide one time after another.
Yeah, it's pretty grim.
But look at the love that God's shown him. Look at the miracles, and I knew that because I've been part of 3-4 of them miracles, and they're that's not even my journey, and that can only be because God loves him. And to me, it was inevitable. I that's one of my God's given me blessings. I see these things, and you're a blessed guy.
Thanks, man.
And it's down to the fact you've got a genuine heart. You looked for the truth, and as God says, walk towards me, I'll run towards you. I mean, which master does that to the slave?
I know, yeah.
And irrespective of what you hear, the truth is always targeted, and that's what I can say about Islam. It's you've got to wonder why is it there's 2 billion Muslims out there. If the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was such a bad person, why would he tell you that he's not Muslim who eats his food when his neighbour is hungry? Why would he say whoever looks after an orphan, I and him will be like this in the next world? Just this quote here: feed the hungry and visit the sick. Which guy would do that if he was? Do your own research. That's all I can say. And I'll be honest with you, as a British person, if I wasn't, and I'm showing a bit of empathy for the non-Muslims living in not just in Britain but in the West, is if I wasn't Muslim, I'm thinking, look, let's put myself on the other side. If I wasn't Muslim and I had all this propaganda, what would I really believe about Islam? And I'd be lying to you if I said it would be all good. I don't know. I'd probably have even, but there's so many intelligent people here, and do your own thinking.
Yeah.
Just take that time to do research. And again, if you need some guidance, we give free Qurans out, give free books out, and
sorry, brother.
No,
I've
please,
got 6 now.
Well,
because on Eid,
Yeah.
I got gifts and people came around with gifts and a prayer mat, and I've got 6 Quran. Like, hey, which I'm glad, they're all on the top of it, like,
yeah.
I'm thinking of lining my whole bookcase with the Quran. But yeah, sorry, that's why.
No, it's but get in touch, and I genuinely believe that even if anyone who's listening, this wasn't a coincidence that you came. There's billions and billions of videos out on YouTube or wherever else this is going to go on. But if you're watching this, especially if you're watching this far, that wasn't by chance.
Yeah.
And there's a calling there, and as you walk through that door, if God opens a door for you, and we're only here, we've only got one chance in this life, and it can end at any moment. And we can't take time for granted. And all I'll say is just build that relationship with God. And it is a relationship of love. It's not a relationship of fear. That's just a primitive or starting point, if that's what motivates you to do what you need to do. But in the end, it is a love relationship. And, that's when you've got a good relationship. He loves you. And God, become a friend of God. That's my...
There's not one negative aspect of what I know, and I know I'm new, of Islam at all. Every reaction I've got since I've been home has been positive.
Yeah, beautiful.
Some people are surprised because I'm this white skinhead guy, you know what I mean? But do you know what? I'm happy to be a conduit between two worlds that are different, that were never meant to be different. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, but everything led me to this, and I'm grateful to you personally, and I'm grateful to your charity and and yeah, of course.
I really appreciate your warm
I'm
words.
grateful that you've delivered what you're supposed to deliver, and it's got to me.
Oh, thank you.
Because I would be dead now.
And
and the other thing, just so you know, at the beginning when I mentioned about anxiety, depression, and all the mental health stuff, I don't have on my record anxiety and depression anymore.
Fantastic, beautiful.
Coincidentally, I'm just saying.
Okay, so you've come to Jordan. You felt something that we've all felt, and it's something that you'd written afterwards in the POL group. I was already there. I just didn't know it, and that was exactly that. And for me, we had that one conversation. We're blessed. How blessed we are. It's like the cave. Family cave. They're like our family. To be fair, they treat us like probably better than family. And we were waiting for the night prayers in Ramadan. Last few nights, blessed days, the most blessed days.
Loved it, man.
And I think we had a 1-to-1 then, didn't we? In the office of the cave. And I don't know again how it started, but it was basically everything was basically just put into perspective. And I think you were already there, just really making yourself aware of the fact that your soul's already there, just getting your mind to resonate with the soul. And it was pretty much a case of, for me, the main aim of the purpose of life is where the name came from. What your story is just a beautiful summary of what the charity is about. If there was one example, this is it. And it was a case of, look, you believe in Allah, you believe in the Prophet as a final messenger, Prophet Mohammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And for me, on the Day of Judgment, I just felt like I've got a lot of love for Brother Rob at the time. If I didn't give him that little bit of a guidance and tell him that, look, unless you say the Shahada, once you say the Shahada, you kind of, you're protected. How? Because no matter what you do afterwards, even if you commit loads of sins, even myself, you'll go to help pay your time, but because you're a Muslim, you'll be recovered. Without that shahada, that testament, it's unfortunately, it's just we're not getting out of there. And for me, I was like, God's put me on this earth with a mission, which I've discussed myself, but I'm not going to talk about that. But my mission is, and the Darulum's mission is to guide people. It's like I said, we talked about darkness a lot, and it's like Islam is the light, and my mission is just to put little bits of light, and then you guys are already on the journey. You've got the fuel, you just need the spark. And once you got that spark, it was just, I mean, it wasn't a case of I'm here to convince you. You already knew. It was just I needed you to see that.
Yeah.
And then once it came to the point of, so do you want to just do the testament, what you already have believed for many years? You were like, all right. To me, it's like, the charity work, helping the poor, you're saving bodies and it's one thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. But to save a soul, it just gives me goosebumps talking about it. To be in a position where God's honored you to be able to save a soul, it doesn't get any better than that, and it doesn't get any more important than that. And that is the purpose of life. I mean, from my own journey, why, people wonder why have I spent my peak earning years, my last 10 years doing this, volunteering for this charity, setting this charity. It's because my soul, I've tasted the truth. I know that this is the truth. I'd give my life for this, and I wouldn't give my family in humanity justice by keeping this beautiful truth to myself.
No.
And it's there to be shared, and that's my mission, and that's my purpose. And I believe that there's much more work to be done, and I genuinely believe that Brother Mohammed's got a role to play in this as well. I think we've got similar missions, and I genuinely, please, if this is resonating, get in touch. We're out here, and there's many other beautiful souls out there, but please do get in touch. And I'm going to let Brother Mohammed have the last words. Bismillah.
Thank you, Saj. Have the last words. My last words are I'm speechless. I'm still absorbing everything. The last words are, listen, it comes back to a quote that I love dearly, which is like, darkness isn't an enemy of the light. It's just required for the light to be able to show itself off a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Beautiful. Like, without darkness, no one can see us shining. And if you're going through a lot of really torrid time right now, just consider that it's for a reason, and as horrible as it feels, that you like just like cling on to hope, because there's a reason for everything happening. You know what I mean? Find your right people. Find your right spiritual self, and just open your heart up, just like get those human earthly blinkers off, and just like take a little bit of ego out of yourselves, and just look up, man. Just look up, and you'll be all right. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much, Brother Mohammed. God bless you. Thank you very much,
you, brother,
for your evening. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.